Hello everyone, I am Viomesh Singh. Welcome to my channel. Today, Chinmay is with us. Chinmay is one of the very few people got the job in Facebook London, none other than the Facebook London, I should say. He is not from computer science background. And in this podcast, Chinmay will share his BTech journey and his experiences and his preparation strategy, which leads him in the Facebook London. So welcome Chinmay, welcome to our channel.
Hi, Viomesh. Thank you very much for the generous introduction. I believe you're giving me more credit than I deserve, for sure.
I think I am not giving you more credit because I don't think more than 10 students was selected for the Facebook London from India. So you are one of the top 10 in India right now. So you deserve it. So
Thanks a lot again.
Chinmay, first, could you introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Chinmay Pandre. I live here in Mumbai. As Viomesh told you, I am not from a computer science background. I am studying electrical and electronics engineering at BITS Pilani campus. And I'm currently in my final year. I'm almost graduated, basically. So that's about my basic education thing. Apart from that, I always had an interest in programming. So I tried for getting accepted into the Google Summer of Code program in my first year, and luckily I got accepted. After that, after my second year, I had the privilege of being an intern twice actually. Once after my second year at Facebook's London office, and once after my third year at our headquarters in Menlo Park, Silicon Valley. After that, I needed a change of wind, and I was a research intern at NTU Singapore for 6 months this year. I think that's about it, and I'll be joining Facebook as a full-time engineer this year in September.
As Chinmay mentioned, he had GSoC experience, Facebook London internship experience, Facebook Silicon Valley experience, as well as Nanyang Technological University internship experience. So we will try to cover all of that in this podcast one by one. First, I believe as soon as you went for your BTech, your first step was GSoC. So you are not the computer science student. So how and when did you decided that you want to go for GSoC, and what motivates you to go for GSoC? As most of the seniors, you can say second year, third year student only try for the GSoC, but you tried it on the first year. So it needs so much clarity as well as courage. So what makes you to do that?
So basically, I have been into web development or front-end engineering, as we call it these days, for a while now. I started earlier in my eighth, ninth standard, and from there I really got hooked into it. But my knowledge level was not that much. It was pretty basic at that point because managing all this with school and everything is difficult. So I was basically like any other first year, right? New in college, I was exposed to a wide variety of clubs and all those at university. So we have a culture, we have a huge clubs culture at BITS Pilani. We have clubs for everything. So since my primary interest was programming for a long time, um, I looked at the clubs we had for programming. We had a few. I interacted with the seniors over there, and I joined the one I really liked. So our club's job was to make websites, payments, and apps and videos for our college's fest. That was our club's job, and that was very much in line with my interests. So that's web development basically. So I went into that. I really liked the seniors over there, and at that time they were in their second year. So what happened was they were preparing for GSoC. So mostly students in the second year in my college, they try for Google Summer of Code. So that is kind of a culture over there. So many people try for it, and I got exposed to the idea at that point. Um, I was very interested into this idea. So I thought let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. I was really not expecting anything. It was more like let's see what happens. A typical first year attitude, very enthusiastic about everything as usual. So I went for it. Then I was not really very much into my major from the first year itself, and maybe the decisions I made in my first year, those were the most critical, because that's how I got into the club and had all those peers. Peers played a huge role in my life, and that's how I got into GSoC. Basically, those were my first steps in short.
So first tips from the Chinmay is try to find out the clubs according to your interest and try to find out peers group for your growth. They play a very important part in your growth. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I think peers form a very important part, mostly because you're surrounded by these like-minded people who have very similar goals, and that way you get motivated to do about something, and you also stay up to date with all the opportunities in the field. Your peers will be going to different places. You can get ideas from there. You can get referrals from them in the future. So networking is key, definitely. In your first year, you need to explore and go for what you think is the best for you, your career, and of course personally as well.
Before coming to the BTech, you have some knowledge of HTML and PHP, but you are not in code programming itself. So it might take so much effort for you to go for the GSoC, learn JavaScript, learn many things, learn open source projects, and go try for the GSoC. So
Yeah,
how
I
much
understand.
effort did you put in, and when did you start for the GSoC?
So I think from all the background and all the peer group that I had, as I told you, I got very much interested into GSoC. So in my first semester as itself, I thought let's see what happens. And in December, that's basically end of first semester. I had a look at what GSoC is, what the procedure for getting selected is, what the benefits are, and all those things basically. So I think the most important part was understanding how GSoC works, because that is very overwhelming, especially for someone who's in their first year at that point. There's a lot of things going on around you, and it's very easy to get confused. And when you get confused, you don't feel like doing anything. It serves as a huge negative motivation for you. So yes, I started working on that in December, and by the virtue of that, I had a lot of knowledge about the entire GSoC process till March. So it took me around 3 months, because at that point, even Git and GitHub were new to me. So and also the front end engineering that I knew was basic JavaScript. I had no knowledge about Node, npm, all these things, which are pretty much essential if you want to do your GSoC in a JavaScript based organization. So I did not have any GSoC specific skills at that time. I spent my first 3 months of preparation, Jan, Feb, I think half of March, to understand all these concepts, get familiar to how the open source world operates. And at that point, I had decent level of knowledge. So as you can note, during my first semester or before I started GSoC preparation, I did not have a huge ton of knowledge. The only thing that I had was enthusiasm. Yeah, I think that's how I started and how I got into it.
Once you started, did you feel very confident that you should apply for that and you can be selected? And second thing, how you chose the project for or organization for your GSOC? Because there are
Right.
different kind of project. Like for easy project, there are so much confidence, so much competition, and for the hard project, it requires courage. So,
Yeah.
what did you choose, and how did you choose?
Right. Definitely. So, as you mentioned, projects have varying difficulty, and I think project selection is very important, because you should know what is realistically possible, what you can realistically do in the given time frame. So, what I did was, after I got to know the basics of GSoC, how everything works, basics of open source, basics of slightly advanced JavaScript. At that point, the GSoC list for organizations had been released. So how this works is GSoC releases the list of organizations, and organizations release a list of their own of projects in that organization. and each of these projects has a difficulty level. So they're usually easy, medium, and hard, three difficulty levels. Many of my peers suggested that I go for the easy projects, and I had a look at the easy project, of course. What happened was there was a lot of competition for those easy projects, because since the tag is easy, people think they easy. So people think they can get into those projects, and there's a lot of people competing for that. I noticed that there was a little less competition for the medium and hard projects, and I really liked one of the slightly harder projects in my organization. So I decided to go for that. How that helped me is that competition was low, and by the time I had significant amount of competition, I already had a huge rapport with my mentor, and I had already pushed some code to the repository. And because of that, I had a huge competitive advantage against my competitors for that particular project. One of my competitors even had a PhD degree at that point. So I think that that's how the project selection process went for me, and that was the entire thought process behind this.
That means you put your heart and soul for that project to beat PhD candidates as well.
Yes, hard work is very much important in GSoC. I think more than coding skills, it involves a lot of hard work. I'm pretty sure the PhD guy had a lot of coding knowledge, but he might not have that much time to put into it. I was only in my first year. There was not a lot of there was not a lot of classwork to do, a lot of load. So I think I was able to devote more time, and that proved to be more important in the end.
Uh, how was your experience in the GSoC itself?
So my experience over there was, as you might know, GSoC has a plan of 12 weeks of like 10, 12 weeks of programming. So you need to plan out your entire project in advance. You need to, of course, you can change it slightly later on, but you need to have a rough idea of what you'll be doing over the time period of GSoC. My experience was that initially I took a lot of help from my mentor regarding how to plan everything. And once we had it planned, slowly I understood the depth and intricacies of the project. And after that, it was pretty much code, boom. So write some code, write tests for it, and push it. So that was most of my 12 weeks. I think it was a very exciting experience for me, because till then it was mostly I used to be in school till 12th grade, and after that it was still it was not so first year of engineering, as you know, in India does not have a lot of exciting things. So you don't have very exciting projects or stuff like that. So yes, it was I think the most intriguing experience of my life till that point. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about code quality, about how to work in collaboration with others in different time zones, especially because my mentor was in the US. So he was basically 12 hours behind me. So that was a really new and very unique experience. And as you know, GSoC provides not just a learning opportunity, but quite a bit of stipend as well. So of course, when you're a college student in your first year, especially at that point, all this seems very exciting and very new, and it was a great learning experience. I think that was probably the turning point of my career. So that was really good.
All of the students who are in first year, in second year, or even in third year should apply for Google Summer of Code because of the great experience, learning experience, not just experience, learning experience. You can learn a lot from your mentors, and it provides you the huge stipend. Right now, I think it is $3,000.
Yeah, roughly, yes.
And $3,000 for 12 week, it might covers your whole year expenses. So that's a good enough. So within the first year, the GSoC was in your bucket. Then you goes for the Facebook London internship. But
Right.
what we have seen in India, all students can get internship only after the third year. But you got internship in Facebook London just after second year. So tell us about your experiences and when did you start apply? Did you got the internship from your college itself or you got the off campus? internship?
Right, definitely. So I at this point I'd already completed my GSoC. I was in my third semester. So the next logical step for me seemed to be an internship because, like every other engineering student, I had a dream of working at a top tech company, Google, Facebook. When I was young, Facebook was not that huge, so I think my dream was Google mostly. So I think that seemed like the next logical step for me to achieve my goal. I was aware that usually students from third year get into such internships, but I was willing to give it a shot. Just like first year, I was not expecting anything to happen, but what's the worst that can happen, right? I'll get rejected. That's it. So there's no downside to applying, of course. So what I did was I made a list of companies that I would like to work for. It was Facebook, Google, Spotify, many other companies in the US, in Europe, in India, of course. So my first goal was trying for internships in India because that seemed much more approachable to me. I think I was really afraid that maybe foreign internships would not be available to me because I was only a second year student. So I first tried for internships in India. I was mostly disappointed by my Indian applications because at that time, this was 2017. So a lot of companies were not providing internships to second year, right? I mean, of course, there were internships, but I was looking for a kind of internships which would give me good experience, good learning experience, as well as something which would be a stepping stone for me. So I wanted to work for a well-known company because I was not really expecting Google or Facebook at that point. I was expecting something, a smaller company, but well-known, so that when I actually apply for Google, Facebook, Microsoft, then my resume is highlighted because I've already done an internship at a good company. So that was what I was looking for. That's why I didn't foray into startups. I mean, we had a lot of startup internships offers at that point, but I did not really want to go in that direction for my career. So I chose well-known companies in India, and most of them rejected me mostly only because of my second year credentials. So that was very much expected for me. After a while, I realized that I'm not getting any interview calls over here, and this was still August or September. So the key is to start early over here as well. So the earlier you start, the better it will be for you. So in September, I realized it's not working out. I should definitely talk to companies abroad and see what happens. So as I said, what's the worst that can happen? You'll get rejected. Nothing apart from that. So I applied to companies abroad. I applied to probably 80 companies in total, 80, and I did not hear from any of them until December. So I applied in September to Facebook, Google, Microsoft, many of these companies. I did not hear anything until December. In January, suddenly I was on vacation somewhere because the semester had ended. So what I received an email from Spotify saying that they wanted to interview me for the front-end engineer intern position. Sorry. So I was really happy at that time. I was joyed, of course, and I started preparing for it. But I think after a while, they notified me that they are not able to take my interview because they have already filled the position. This is very commonplace in recruiting, and this happens a lot. So it's not a big deal. And I think early January, around the same time, I also received an email from Facebook saying they wanted to interview me. I was overjoyed because, of course, it was Facebook. I did not expect a revert from them. I received an interview call from them, so I started preparing day and night for my Facebook interview because at that time I did not have any internship in hand. That was the only interview that I had actually. I did not even get any other interview. So I prepared for Facebook. I had a look at what are their testing criteria, what do they usually look at in a candidate. Then I applied for Facebook. Yeah. I
Uh,
think that's how it started, the whole Facebook internship experience.
what we understand from Chinmay this time, even if there is very little chance, you should apply for it, and you should try even at the starting. Whenever you think about it, just start trying. Like Chinmay started in August itself, means third semester is about to start or just started. He applied for the internship for the after the fourth semester. And second thing, there was very little hope, but still he tried. And that's why he got a call, a call from Facebook London. And for this, he tried for 80 companies. 80 companies is a very big number. And still he tried. And good thing is, he was confident enough to apply everywhere, even in the Facebook itself. It takes courage, but as he mentioned, there is nothing downside to apply anywhere.
Yeah, totally. I think the only one piece of advice I would give to people who are looking for internships or full-time jobs as well, I think. I'm too young for that, but yeah, maybe internships. So the one advice I can give you is apply. I mean, there's no harm in applying. Applying is key. If you don't apply, you cannot get selected. If you do apply, you might get rejected, but if you don't apply, you'll definitely not get accepted. So that is one thing I would like for you to take from this whole session.
What was the Facebook London interview experience? What was their selection
Right.
criteria and everything?
Right. So these details might have changed by now because this is 2018 January. So that's more than 2 years ago. So the interview experience was like this. First, we had a small call with the HR. It was just basic details and basic coding questions, not much. The second round was after the HR call, we have two rounds. Each of the interview rounds, is with a Facebook engineer, and it has two questions each. So they ask two questions. Mostly they are data structure algorithm based and understanding based. So Facebook and I think most large companies don't really look for fancy algorithms. You're using red black binary trees to solve some obscure question with some obscure time limits and all those things. So what they look for is how good do you understand the basics? How can you approach a new problem, and can you analyze your own solution to that new problem? Can you make your solution better? So basically time complexity analysis, space complexity analysis, all those things. And actually every company has a different style of asking questions. Um, so some companies look at some specific topics more. So it will be very helpful if you could look at past interview questions from websites like Glassdoor and from Geeks for Geeks. So it was my interview experience. It went really well. The interviewers liked me mostly because I mean I did not get everything right in the first time, of course. So the key over here was that when I did make a mistake, the interviewer told me, "Hey, are you sure that's the right way to write this? Or are you sure that is the fastest way you can do this?" So the interviewers always give you hints. They are not testing your rote learning skills over here. They're testing your thinking skills. So and this is of course a whiteboard test, so you don't have any linters or any code syntax highlighting softwares. So even if you make a spelling mistake, you will not notice it maybe. So these interviewers always remind you about these small details. It is important to pick up on these hints because they want you to do well. Of course, they don't want to see basic rudimentary skills. They want to see thinking skills. That is the key actually.
So one more thing I want to ask is competitive programming and DS is also very important. Even if you have projects, open source project and Google Summer of Code experience.
Right, definitely. So all these project experiences, Google Summer of Code, all these things, they will get your resume shortlisted. Yeah, and of course, resume shortlisting is the most uncertain part because you have no idea whether your resume will get shortlisted. What is actually easier is performing in the interview because you know that you have an interview, then you know what kind of questions will be asked. So that is the easier part compared to resume selection, especially for a fresher. Because as a fresher, you don't have a very flashy resume. So as a fresher or as a student, you don't have a very flashy resume. So that will help your profile to get highlighted. So that will help you in resume shortlisting. But competitive programming is very important not from a competition standpoint, but from an understanding standpoint. I am not a huge competitive coder or something like that. But I have done competitive coding to strengthen my core skills, to strengthen my understanding of languages, algorithms. So algorithms and all these things, these are the foundation of your programming. So it definitely helps to do competitive programming. It will strengthen your base. It will make you more prepared. And these interviews usually tend to focus 90% on these kind of skills in your algorithmic skills and thinking skills. So this will develop your thinking a lot, and that is what is important in these interviews.
So here we can understand that competitive programming and data structure always matters a lot, because not just because you are a best coder in India or anywhere, it's because
Mhm.
it's well a thinking inside you. So how to approach a particular problem, and that's important in the software industry.
Right. I would also like to add to Vyomesh's statement and say that development experience is very important, because that is what you'll be doing in the end. You will be making stuff. You need to worry about timelines, deadlines, collaboration. All these things are very, very important. I would say they are equally important, both of them. So competitive and development experience is very important. Without competitive, you will not have the thinking abilities, thinking procedures, and without development, you will not have that collaborative product building experience.
How was your Facebook London internship experience, and how it leads you to the Facebook headquarter?
Right. So that was a really nice experience. It was the first time for me going abroad alone, and living in a different city, where I don't know anybody really, and going to work over there. Yeah. I mean, it hits me with nostalgia even today when I think about that time. I made a lot of friends. The work experience was really good. So the people at Facebook are, of course, they are brilliant. So I had a very good peer group over there. I got very good guidance. I learned a lot of things about how to work in such a large organization with a huge code base and all those things. So that really shaped my brain a lot. Earlier, I would say I used to focus on a lot of trivial things, but after going to Facebook, I think I became more practical. I started focusing on what matters. I started focusing on how to actually build a product. All these core skills are what I learned at Facebook, and that's what made my overall experience special. It was not just an intern doing some random work which will never be used. So at Facebook, all the interns work on something that is going to be used in Facebook's code base. So many internships don't have that. It's really surprising, but many of them don't. And at Facebook, so suppose I did not intern at Facebook. So the internship project that I had at Facebook, if I had not done it, some other software engineer would have to do it, because it was a key part of the product. And working on such a large scale, so you know that one line of code that you write is going to run on millions of devices, and that itself is the adrenaline rush of it. So nothing could be more exciting than millions of people using your code. So I think yeah, that's how it was.
So how it leads to you Facebook headquarters?
Right. So my internship went very well. My manager and everybody liked me over there, and my performance was pretty good. I mean, not pretty good, but it was okay, I think. Uh, so they decided to give me a returning offer. Since I was in my second year, they could not give me a job offer at that time, because I would be graduating in 2020, and they don't give job offers 2 years in advance. I don't think any company does, apart from Microsoft. Microsoft sometimes does that, but in general, you won't have that. So what Facebook said was, "Hey, would you like to come back for a second internship at Facebook?" And I said, "Sure, but I'd like to work at the headquarters for a change and see how stuff is over there." They said, "Sure, no problem." So that's how I ended up doing another internship at Facebook in our Menlo Park headquarters. And that's how much I liked it. So I want to do a second internship over there. I think interns have the most fun at Facebook.
You was intern in the Facebook London as well as the
Right,
Facebook headquarters. So
right.
what difference you notice between Facebook London internship and Facebook headquarters?
So I think as an engineer, how that matters to you is that you have a lot of teams to choose from in the US office. At Facebook, you choose your own teams. You're not assigned a team. I mean, not as an intern, but as a full-time employee, you get to choose your own teams. So if you're in the US office, you have more options for choosing teams. But apart from that, the work culture, the people, it's not that different.
Okay. So where is the higher stipend? Facebook London or Facebook headquarters?
So in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of competition to hire engineers, and that leads to a higher stipend or higher salaries in the Silicon Valley area. So it's basically a demand supply equation. That's why there's a higher pay in Silicon Valley compared to London.
So after 2 internship in the Facebook, you got the PPO from the Facebook. So tell us about your experience about the PPO. Means it's a huge. You can't ask more than this. You didn't you were not dependent on the beach planning training and placement cell for anything. I believe you got the internship off campus. You got second internship off campus. Then you got the PPO in the Facebook London. So tell us about this experience.
Um, thanks a lot for those very kind words. I would not put it that way, but so the experience of the PPO was very good because since I had done 2 internships at Facebook already, I knew how things work over there. In my second internship, I was able to be a bit better at managing my stuff. So I think my performance was a bit better, and that ended up with me getting a returning offer. I chose to go to Facebook London after that, and just because of all the experience that I had in London, it was amazing. The city, the people, and also it's closer from home. So that was a very good experience for me.
So he was very humble and kind about telling his experience for the PPO. I think at that time he was like crazy person. Yeah, I got the job in PPO. Even anyone should be. If anyone is not, so he must be genius or like Einstein or something like. Oh, Facebook London is
No,
I
I
can get better.
definitely was.
So we have taken a lot of time of yours, but still we don't want you to go. So we have some more things to ask. I want you to give students some tips.
Hmm. Definitely. So, so this is basically like a summary of our entire discussion so far. For GSoC, the pointers I would give or what I want you to take away is that it's best to start as early as possible because and it's very it's very beneficial for you if you're able to get into GSoC after your first year. It opens a lot of doors. So if you don't get your desired internship after second year, you can still try after third year. So it gives you a lot of time to achieve your goals. So it's best to do it after your first year, and it's fine even after you do it after your second year or third year. Whenever you do GSoC, it will always boost your resume and it will be very good for your career. So that is one thing. Start early. Second point is make sure you know how the GSoC process works. Have a look at basically read between the lines of the GSoC website. See how entire mentor-student matching process goes, which organizations have been consistently getting accepted into GSoC, what kind of project will get accepted into GSoC, and of course, one thing you need to do is that you can do GSoC in any language. So there's projects on all languages, but I think the highest number of projects are in JavaScript and Python in 2017 actually. I don't know how the statistics are right now. So you need to look at these things as well. And once you have selected a language to work in GSoC, you should have a look at what kind of projects are there and how can you prepare for that. So don't start in March. Start in November, December. or whatever is suitable for you, but start early.
We have already
Yeah.
made one video for a GSoC and open source project. Link is in the description. So you can learn how should and when should a person apply for GSoC. Complete process is covered in that video. Now
Right.
carry on, Chinmay.
Right, sure. So as Viomesh said, please do have a look at the video. I think I'll move on to my internship experience and pointers right now. That will be much more relevant to this discussion. So as always, I think for internships and job applications, the key thing is to apply. As I have stressed earlier, applying is key. If you do apply, you might get rejected, but if you don't apply, you will definitely not get accepted. So apply. Some people think that, okay, my profile is not so good right now. Maybe I'll try next year or something like that. I mean, what you can try next year as well, but there's no harm in trying this year. So just go for it and be confident in yourself. See what can be done. So that's about it. Prepare your resume very nicely. I cannot overstress this. Resume will get your profile shortlisted. After that, when you get shortlisted and when you have an interview call, have a look at the company's interview process. Have a look at the questions they like to ask. Have a look at their candidate requirements. Prepare for it. Give your 100%. After a few days, you should not feel that I wish I had prepared a little harder, then I could have got my dream company, even though I had an interview. And so basically, prepare.
So we have learned a lot from Chinmay, and hard work, you can't replace hard work with anything, first of all. Second thing which matters, apply. Don't try to be apply. You can't be perfectionist. If you are thinking that I am not good enough and I should not apply, so that should not be the case. You can't be perfectionist. That's why you are going for the internship. And there are hundreds of companies, and at least one or two company suits you. So first thing, apply, and second thing, apply early. Means like Chinmay always apply in August, September. It means as soon as he completed his task, like he completed the GSoC, he started applying for the second year internship. As soon as he completed the third year internship in the Facebook London, he started applying for the research internship. So applying early is also very important, because in many areas of the world, the deadline is much early than we expect. So thank you, Chandman. Thank you very much.
Thanks a ton, and thanks for having me over here.
I think pleasure is
All,
all mine.
and yeah, to all our listeners, I would wish you good luck, and I hope you achieve great heights and your goals in life.
I assume you have learned a lot. If you have any query, you can comment it down. And please do like, share, and subscribe our channel. And thank you, Chinmay. Thank you once again.
Thank you.